What is going on, everyone? Mets Talk with Hayden J. What's going on, everyone? I hope we are all doing extremely well. I am certainly doing very well. Hope you guys are doing well. We got so much to talk about today with the New York Mets and overall in baseball. Obviously, the offseason is going on, so, I like to cover all things, MLB to an extent. Although, yes, most of my knowledge does pertain to the New York Mets. Doesn't always hurt to talk more about the Mets or Major League Baseball. So before we get started, everyone, please smash that like button, turn on those post notifications, like this video, subscribe, all that great stuff. If you guys have any comments, questions, and concerns, I see we got the comment section rolling out like crazy already. Please, everyone, drop anything below. We got a ton of stuff to go over in today's video. I feel last stream was last Wednesday. So much has changed since. We have so many new acquisitions, so many moves. So let's stop wasting any time, and we're going to dive into all those great moves today. There is certainly a lot of them. But before everyone, like I said, smash the like button, subscribe, post notifications, all that great stuff. I did upload a ton of videos this week in regards to all the signings. I did one video with Eduardo Escobar and Mark Canha. Feel free to check that out. One with Javier Baez going to the Detroit Tigers. And, of course, one with the New York Mets getting Max Scherzer. So let's stop wasting much more time, and let's dive right into it. So the New York Mets have made some huge moves. As we know, Mets, they were very relevant in the news about a week ago. We know Steve Cohen had his little incident tweet. He tweeted out some things that I'm guessing some people didn't like, pretty much him tweeting how he was upset over what happened with Steven Matz. And I guess that created some issues. A lot of people were worried, saying, oh, no, are people not going to want to sign here now? Steve Cohen should have kept his mouth shut, yada, yada, yada. So that really seemed like a concern. But no, surprisingly, that really didn't do anything. Surprisingly, it changed the Mets' perspective. And the fact is the Mets were able to get four guys in, less than 300 hours. That's mind-boggling, really is. But yeah, first, as we know, last Saturday, I want to say it was, or Friday. It was Friday, yeah, last Friday, the New York Mets signed Eduardo Escobar. New York Mets signed Escobar to a 2-year deal worth $25 million. I think this was a huge, huge deal for the New York Mets. Obviously, Escobar is a guy that the Mets have really been eyeing on for so long now. The Mets have really been eyeing on this dude so long he's been in talks of wanting to come to the Mets for quite a while now. So it's actually good the Mets got him. He's a great guy, top of the order bat. He could hit for some power, really can. He would have had, I think, anywhere from 35 home runs if he played all of his games at Citi Field this season. So that is really good to see. Great to see. I don't want to spend too much time on the signings because I did upload videos of that, and I don't really want to repeat myself or spoil it. So if you guys are interested in my thoughts, check those videos out. Would appreciate it. So yeah, obviously New York Mets signed Eduardo Escobar. The New York Mets signed Starling Marte later that night. Great move. They signed Mark Canha. Great move. All of these moves I think are pretty adequate for the most part. Really not a whole lot to say about them. We're going to have to see how that goes out. But I think the biggest move is Max Scherzer. The New York Mets signed Max Scherzer to a record-breaking AAV contract of $140 million for 3 years. Not bad. When I first saw the price, I was like, okay, Mets are really throwing money out. I'm glad Max Scherzer is with the Mets. I know Trey's saying it. Definitely, I feel you, man. Him signing with the Mets was pretty good. In terms of the contract, I think it was fair. The first thing that popped in my head was Max Scherzer in the first half of 2021. In the first half of 2021, we saw that he kind of struggled to an extent, Max Scherzer. People were saying he did spider tack, all that shenanigans. But he really blew up in the second half. And I really think that is what makes really Max Scherzer's huge contract so much important. But, the fact is you are getting the highest AAV in not Mets history, but for a pitcher in history. It was like 43 million, something around those lines. I'm not good with math and rounding up. So that's really good to see. I'm really excited for that. We're going to see Max Scherzer in a Mets jersey. I think it's something that is really needed. I really do. yeah, I think it's something that's really needed. The Mets, they have an ace in this rotation in Jacob deGrom. But hey, you know what, Jacob deGrom, he's been a little worrisome. A lot of people, I think, going into this offseason are definitely a little worried about him. And that makes sense. I understand that. I am certainly a little bit worried about deGrom, too. So it's always good to have a backup. But listen, the Mets are definitely going to have to go after a lot more pitchers. I mean, you know, they're going to have to go over. I mean, some bullpen arms are definitely going to be needed, some left-handers. And this is, you know, one thing I'm pretty big on is, you know, having a left-handed bullpen arm. The only arms, you know, that the Mets really have lefties are Lucchesi's a Pucky. Lucchesi's recovering from Tommy John. Good to see Joey Lucchesi. He was throwing in Flurry yesterday, having a light toss. Good to see that. Sapucky, I think he like stubbed his toe or something. I don't know. Peterson, he stubbed his toe in the dugout, and he should hopefully be returning. So yeah, I mean, we're really gonna have to see how that goes. So it's really all really. We'll definitely get into your guys' comments. You know, just wanted to come in here and, you know, rant kind of for myself for 5 minutes. We do have 13 people in the chat, so I do appreciate that. If you guys are new to the channel, hit that like button, subscribe, smash, all that great stuff. And if you guys have any comments, drop them. I am going to get into all of your guys' comments, concerns, any questions you guys have relating to the New York Mets. Please feel free to drop it, and I mean, I'd be delighted to go over it. Just stand by for a minute. Okay. All right. So what's going on, everyone? Gio, what's going on, man? YouTube Productions, Ibindos, Trey. Ibindos says, wow, the Mets made 4 great moves in less than a week. I'm happy to see the Mets offseason start to a good note. Me too, man. Me too. You know, we know the Mets agenda for the most part. We know how Sandy Alderson has rolled in the past. You know, he's too busy sleeping on his bed, you know, waiting for stuff to go. And he really makes the move at the last possible minute. So really good to see him. I mean, Billy Epler, really, really mind-boggling and really great to see that they were able to make these moves so early. And I think it's important. Not many teams have made moves so far this offseason. I mean, really only, I guess, top 5, Mets, Marlins, Rangers, and the Angels are really the only teams that have made moves that are big. If you guys, I mean, if there's any I mixed, please feel free to comment them below. But I don't really think the Mets made any huge, I don't think any other teams have made any huge moves besides those ones. Yeah. Christopher, what's going on? Baseball is my era. What's going on? Vince Velasquez, what's going on? Good to see you in here, man. Let's go. Phillies guy. Yeah, I saw the Phillies just signed Corey Knebel. Not bad, not bad. Phillies certainly need bullpen help, so that is something that is needed, but they're going to need a lot more than Corey Knebel. Corey Knebel is definitely a solid pitcher, but they're going to need at least 3-4 solid more arms in that bullpen. And even the starting rotation, too, and another outfielder. Kobe, what's going on? Jake, what's going on, Jake? Jake says, any moves tonight? So this kind of ties into my next topic with the CBA. Seems that the CBA, things are not going too super well. There was a tweet that was just tweeted out, and it is kind of roaming on Twitter very big. A Jeff Passan tweet dropped at 2:40 in the afternoon today. It says, after a 7-minute meeting with top union officials, Major League Baseball negotiators are leaving to the hotel where the bargaining has taken place. It's unclear when they'll return, and they'll discuss, if they don't, before a lockout. So that is not very good. You do not like to see that. Obviously, very surprising. A lot of guys made moves really quickly. A lot of guys made moves quickly because I'm guessing, well, they feared that the CBA would really screw them up, and, you know, they wanted to be signed with a team. A lot of these guys, if there was a CBA lockout for a week, an hour, 2 months, 3 months, you know, they want to be affiliated with the team. They don't want to be, you know, running around unaffiliated with the team. And that makes sense. I mean, if I was a Major League Baseball player, I'd want to know where I'm playing when there's a lockout. Just like, with all the COVID, 2020 stuff, when that stuff got, stopped. You want to know who you're going to be playing for. So, yeah, definitely interesting to see. Packers go. What's going on? He says, it's Trevor Story to the Phillies. Really? Come on. Trevor Story to the Phillies? Really? No, that's cap. Kershaw to the Rangers. Come on, man. Hey, listen, Kershaw to the Rangers. I mean, that'd be a solid move. But no, I appreciate you tuning in, though, Packers. Go. Out of the 3 position players, signings, who's your favorite? For the Mets. So, in terms of Mark Canha, Eduardo Escobar, and Starling Marte, probably my favorite one has to be Starling Marte. Yes, I do know the age is necessarily not in his favor. He's 33 years old. You don't typically like to have a 33-year-old center fielder. Not the most pleasant thing to have. But overall, I think what we could see from Starling Marte is he has elite defense and speed. And that is, in my opinion, what could really help this Mets organization. The past, 2 seasons, the Mets really lacked speed on the base pass. Last year, the only guys that actually were able to steal bases was Baez and Lindor. You had Alonso chunk out a couple. Conforto and Mcneil are able to. They just were not really because of the hamstring issue, and they didn't want to break it or get it much worse. Nimmo definitely was able to, but he was in that injury category. So you don't have many guys that can steal bases. The only guys you really have is Nimmo. Well, now you really have a lot. But prior, you really only had like Nimmo and Lindor. You lost Rosario, obviously. You lost Jimenez. And this is dating back to 2021, early 2020. That really had an effect on it. So I really think it's good to see the Mets bring in a guy who has speed. And, we know my motto. Yeah, pitching wins championships. But the basic goal, quoted from Moneyball, what wins games? Runs. And that's why I think, in my opinion, and, who knows, maybe you guys may call me crazy, I would rather the Mets focus on runs right now. Because that is what killed the Mets in 2021. They were able to go out there. Jacob deGrom, for the first half, he was able to go out there. 8 innings pitched, 2 hits, 1 run. But the Mets were not able to do anything. They were not able to score more than 3 runs, half of the games. So that's why I think it's important. Yes, pitching wins championships, absolutely. But I think if you have to look at runs. 2001 Oakland Athletics. They built, Billy Beane, Sandy Alderson, the Moneyball. They built. And how did they do that? By scoring runs. Yes, pitching is something too, but I think now the Mets need to focus a little bit on driving in those runs. And overall, Starling Marte, like I said, the stealing base thing is a huge asset. He has an above-average glove in center field. Whether he'll play center field or left field, probably won't play one of those 2 positions. He probably does have a fair enough arm to play right field, so I could definitely see something like that happening. Otherwise, that's really all I got in terms of the big 3 guys. Stoney, what's going on? He says, what's up, bro? Are the Mets interested in Chris Bryant at all? So I know you were curious about that. This is obviously I would love Chris Bryant on the team. Personally, talks with him and the Mets have been there. They were a little quiet the last couple of days, and now they're starting to hype up again. So that's great. I'm down to that. Do I think the Mets have a chance at getting him? Absolutely. However, as of right now, there isn't really now there really can't be much talks because you look at what's going on with the CBA. So things are pretty much very, very quiet. Things are very, very quiet in terms of Mets and Chris Bryant. We all know how I feel about Chris Bryant. I think he would honestly be a great addition to this ball club. Just question how much he can honestly do right now. Obviously, I know CBA, no one's going to be signing. Randy Talks Mets, what's going on, man? Appreciate you tuning in, brother. Trey says, all of a sudden sitting, I know Trey was talking about that. So that's pretty cool. You saw Max Scherzer pitch a no-hitter against the Mets. Listen, man, that's pretty neat. Vince Velasquez says, Corey Knebel, 1 year, $10 million. That's not bad. Yeah, you know what? Get a cheap deal. Get a cheap guy. Give you a year. Phillies, they're in a situation where right now, if their season were to begin, they'd be a 500 team. As a Mets fan, regardless, I think the Phillies have a lot to work on. They need it. They need some outfield depth. You only have Bryce Harper. They need a third baseman. Is Alec Bohm really going to be solid? Alec Bohm did not have a good season at the plate. Defensively, he was not very good. Probably worse than J.D. Davis, and that's really saying something. Phillies, they got a lot of work. Baseball's my era. What's going on? He says, what an incredible day. Steve and Billy aren't messing around. And this is only the beginning. Let's hope there's a deal to avert the MLB work stoppage. Yeah, I really hope so, my man. I really do hope so. We're going to have to see. But yeah, I agree with you. Billy Epler, my apologies, wrong person. Billy Epler and Steve Cohen really, really went out and made some moves early, which is good. That's what you like to see. And yeah, hopefully, I mean, as of right now, it looks like there's going to be an MLB work stoppage or lockout, if you want to call it in this case. It's looking like that right now. Pretty unfortunate, but out of my control, sadly. And Merlinful's going to ask, do you like Billy Epler? Yeah, honestly, I think right now he's been a solid GM. I know he hasn't really been a GM under any games. So, you know, the roster construction isn't really there, none of that stuff yet. But so far, he's really made a good impression. He's went out and acquired free agents so early on. He's willing to spend Steve Cohen's money. Sandy Allison's probably flipping out. But yeah, I mean, he's really showing. I mean, one thing that he kind of neglected with the Angels was picking up pitching, and he got one of the best pitchers on the market. Definitely a top 5 pitcher in baseball. So it really shows that he's not messing around. And I mean, like I said, I don't want to say I love the dude because we haven't seen how he's handled roster construction. You know, that's a big thing, you know, with the 40-man roster, 26-man roster. We know that was kind of a disaster last season because of all the injuries. So we're going to see if he can actually handle it, and hopefully he can. Stoney says, what are the chances of getting Chris Bryant? As of right now, I think the teams that have a likelihood of pursuing Chris Bryant, and this is probably going to be after the lockout, the New York Mets, Texas Rangers, Philadelphia Phillies, and I think definitely reunification with the Giants is possible. Mets fan MB, what's going on, buddy? Appreciate you tuning in. He says, hey, I have a question. Did you see the Mets signing anyone today or later? Yeah, kind of just to echo what I said before. Personally, I think it's kind of done for the Mets today. Maybe they'll make a small, minor league signing. That doesn't hurt. But it all depends with the CBA. It really does. It really all depends with the CBA. If people are going to be, if they're able to get an agreement. If they're not, obviously, if there's no agreement and there's a lockout, there are no major league signings. So they're not going to be able to do anything, unfortunately. So, I mean, I feel confident, definitely, if there is a lockout. The Mets have had a good offseason so far. Don't get me wrong, there's still going to be plenty of moves when everything opens up. But the point is, I feel confident, not knowing what's going on, that, you know what I'm trying to say. I feel confident that the Mets can't make any moves, but they already have. That's pretty much. Jake, what's going on? Jake says, with Baez gone, should Mcneil play second base full time? And that's a good question. A lot of people, I really feel, doubted on Jeff McNeil, and I'm probably going to get a lot of hate for this, but I honestly do not like the Jeff McNeil slander. I mean, it's kind of tough to really judge this dude. He had one good season and one bad season. If you want to count 2018, those 30, 40 games, whatever. 2020, I'm not talking about that with anyone. 2020 was a ridiculous season. 2019, he was elite. He was able to work the count with 2 strikeouts. He was able to field defensively for the most part. Solid defender. He was thrown at third. He was thrown at second. He was thrown in left. He was thrown in right. Great utility guy. You like the versatility. From the offensive approach, he was able to work any count. 0-2 count. He'll, connect the ball to the bat, flick a little blooper in, shallow center field, and, just try to get runs in. And I think that's really important. Definitely a guy who in the past would get on base with a high average, hit for a high average. McNeil right now is kind of a guy who's kind of deciding what type of hitter he wants to be. Does he want to be, kind of a contact hitter? Does he want to be a power hitter? Does he want to be a type of table setter? Which I think is the most rational thing if he could try and get everything back to himself. And I really hope that can be a possibility for Jeff McNeil and the Mets. I really do. He did have arm problems, Max Scherzer. Yeah, and that's the other thing about Max Scherzer that I got a little worried about. The arm fatigue was definitely really something that he suffered with quite a bit in the postseason. He pitched a lot of innings this season for 37 years old. He pitched just shy of 200. I mean, for a dude who almost has 3,000 innings on his arm, that's definitely a lot. So I definitely understand why he would be tired. Hopefully you could rely on Max Scherzer in this Mets rotation at the number 2 spot, and he'll have to be ready just in case he is the number 1 starter, just in case something does happen to Jacob deGrom. I love GM, absolutely. Randy talks Mets. Yeah, best 1-2 punch. Right now, there's a lot of good rotations in baseball, but I think the Mets definitely have a solid 1-2. That is definitely probably one of my favorite 1-2s. 5 Cy Youngs in 2 pitchers. Max Scherzer has 3 and Jacob deGrom has 2. So who knows? Maybe we'll see like the 2019 Astros where you had Justin Verlander and Garrett Cole, the 1-2 right there, and they were competing for Cy Young. Justin Verlander won the Cy Young. But it's just really good because it goes to show you that, they made it to the World Series regardless of the cheating. Their pitching was really dominant. So, I think that's going to be very important for the Mets, and I'm looking forward to it. I really am. I think it's going to be something exciting for the future. Do you think Rodon could be an option? Yeah, I've seen a couple Rodons. Carlos Rodon, honestly, would not be the worst candidate. I think he could definitely be a solid pitcher for the Mets. Let's pull up some of his stats. He has some pretty adequate stats. This is my issue with Rodon. He's 28, so that's prime age. He has a lot of injury issues. In the past, he debuted in... When did he debut? Of course, it's going to block it out. So going to his... let's go to his reference or something. So he debuted in 2015. He really hasn't pitched a full season. This was really the first year where he pitched a full season. Maybe his first 2 years he pitched 26, 28 games, but then you look at it, 12, 15, 7, 4, 24. So, listen, I understand the Mets are currently, in the rotation struggles. They're trying to avoid injuries. I get it. I would have no problem signing Carlos Rodon. He wants a multi-year deal. He wants 5 years. He wants 6 years. That's where I get a little nervous. Signing a guy who is injury prone to 5-6 years, it's a little worrisome. If the Mets did it for Scherzer, I'd be saying the same thing. 5 to 6 years for a guy who really only pitched 2 seasons healthy since 2015, it's a little worrisome. Don't get me wrong. I think he definitely has some stuff there. The spin rate, the velocity definitely took a little bit of a dip. But I know the Mets are definitely looking after left-handed pitching. He qualifies for that. He was in the Cy Young race. He finished, I believe, 5th or 6th in the Cy Young race. But he's coming off a career year. Looking at his stats, 13-5, career best ERA, 2.37. The strikeouts were up there, 185 strikeouts in 132 innings pitched. So more strikeouts per innings pitched. That's something, usually some eye candy there. We know that Kikuchi has been another option from the Mariners, also a guy who I've been idolizing since making his All-Star type of stuff. But, I think Rodon could definitely be a fair option. He really, like I said, he really just had this good season. The no-hitter definitely kind of really woke him up. We'll see how that goes. Trey says, I have a gut feeling we still want a right fielder. Canna is a premier 4th man on a championship team. We shouldn't roll him out as a starter. Yeah, Mark Canna, honestly, he's a pretty good signing. I think he'll give you a fair bat. Somewhat had a down year in the first half. Kind of was luckily able to wake up in the second half. But I think what you have to look at is, how do I word this? What you have to look at is, the Mets really lack outfield depth. Right now, in terms of your outfield, on the bench, you have Nick Plummer, you have Khalil Lee. So then you have, obviously, Escobar. Obviously, now you have Canna, you have Marte, 2 more guys. Before this, the only 8 natural outfielders the Mets had were Nimmo and Khalil Lee. Mcneil isn't a natural. Dom Smith isn't a natural. And, right now, there's so much roster construction that's going to need to be done. And honestly, I would much rather have so many guys. I'd rather the Mets have too many players. I'd rather be sitting here and say, what do the Mets do? Do you throw this guy in left? Do you throw this guy in right? I'd rather be saying that than the Mets saying, oh, shoot, we really need, a right fielder. Oh, we really need a left fielder. I would rather the Mets 40-man roster be, really overpacked than underpacked, because that's really what we saw this season. That definitely had an effect on the Mets. Heard rumors that were interested in Familia. Yeah, I heard some interest. I did hear some rumors that the Mets want another reunification with Jeurys Familia. Honestly, if you want to give this dude a really small contract for a year, and I'm talking like really small money, go for it. I mean, I'd say AAA option, but I feel that's kind of embarrassing a little bit. So, I mean, whatever works. Really not much to comment on it, to be honest. Yeah, I believe I did answer that. Yeah, so I think you did. I think you asked that twice. Yeah, no worry. I'll repeat it though. Honestly, I think probably signings are done for the Mets for the most part for tonight. Canna will be a starter. Trey. Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see. I think Canna definitely probably will be a starter on the team. I think more of your bench outfielders are Khalil Lee and Plummer. However, Khalil Lee I would probably like on the bench just because he'd really rather yeah, just what was I going to say? Oh, yeah. To be honest, I mean, I'd rather Khalil Lee in the minor leagues because if he's going to be a bench bat, we'll see if he can hit the major league level. We know that when Khalil Lee was called up in May, he was able to provide some defense. The offense was not really there. He had like one double down the line. And then for the most part, it was pretty quiet. He couldn't really get hit for contact at the major league level. So that's something that we're going to have to see Khalil Lee do. And then when he was sent down to the minor leagues, he was starting to rake at the minor league level. So, maybe he just needs to get used to hitting at the major league level. I think a lot of guys definitely do have those issues. We'll have to see how that goes. Thanks, Steven Matson. His agent? Absolutely. John, what's going on, man? Hope you're doing well. Appreciate you tuning in. Ice Cube says, who else do you think the Mets want to get? Well, there's definitely a lot of guys in the market the Mets definitely want to pursue interest in. I think Chris Bryant could definitely be a fair choice. Surprisingly, Carlos Correa, I mean, I doubt he'll go to the Mets, but he's out there on the market. Overall, right now, I think we're going to talk some pitching arms. I mean, let's see like some big arms that are out there. So MLB free agents 2022. So let's look at some big guys. And I see we got 20 people in the chat. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Let's try to beat my current active streak of, I think it was 21 people in the chat. Let's try and beat that. So taking a look at some free agents position, we will look at some pitchers because we know that is the address for concern. Update. So looking at some pitchers that are currently available, a lot of pitchers have signed. Yeah, a lot of guys have signed. Jeez. Drew Smiley's available. Trevor Rosenthal. Yusei Kikuchi honestly would not be the worst option. You have him available. We all know our friend Marcus Stroman, Clayton Kershaw, Zach Greinke. Greinke could honestly not be the worst. I mean, Greinke, I put him in a bullpen role. I mean, he's 38 years old, so that's a little worrisome. You don't want to have to rely on, two guys that are over the age of 35 in your rotation. Greinke's been good. He's had his issues with the long ball, so that's what I get a little worried about. Otherwise, I think he could potentially be a solid pick in the bullpen. Who else do the Mets have? Or who else is there in free agent pick? Danny Duffy. Garrett Richards, Adam Ottavino, Matthew Boyd we saw was non-tendered by the Tigers. Chris Archer. Yeah, and then you go to more of your bullpen arms. Yusei Kikuchi, honestly, my number one pick, believe it or not, for starters, has really went out quick. Kobe says, which teams do you think is having the best offseason? So in terms of right now, I think I'm going to go the Texas Rangers. Mets are top three. I think they'll be second. But the Texas Rangers have had an amazing offseason. I mean, John Gray. And this is what I said, that I really bashed people that thought the Rangers were going to make moves this offseason. And I apologize for that. The Rangers really, really, really made a huge shock by signing $500 million already Marcus Semien and Corey Seager. I found it weird. I thought in July, the Rangers were in a rebuild stage. They traded away Joey Gallo to the Yankees for prospects. They traded away Ian Kennedy and Kyle Gibson in a package to the Phillies for prospects. And the only guy they really had on their team was Adolis Garcia. And he kind of quieted down a little bit in the second half. I still think he could be a good power hitter. Definitely provide some good all-star numbers to an extent. Otherwise, they really didn't have anyone. I mean, Lowe, Solak, kind of Falefa's, I guess, solid. He's okay defensively. Otherwise, they did not really have many pieces there. And I figured they were in a rebuilding stage. But hey, look at it. A lot of their prospects were being called up. Josh Jung, third base prospect, should be called up in a year or two. Sam Huff, their catching prospect, should be called up in a year or two. Just drafted Jack Leiter. A lot of their pitching draft pitchers in the farm are looking good. I mean, they could really be a solid team. And I mean, you look at their rotation. I mean, they have Dane Dunning, a guy they got from the White Sox, who I've actually liked. He could definitely be a solid guy down the line in a couple years if he keeps getting his stuff together. But being realistically, I mean, imagine if the Rangers kept Kennedy and Gibson. You could have had a possible rotation of Kyle Gibson, John Gray, Dane Dunning. And then, I mean, you know, you try to mature Spencer Howard, Dane Dunning, obviously, much more. I mean, and then you have Ian Kennedy in the bullpen. I mean, it's not a great, but it's a solid 1, 2, 3 for an adequate team. But yeah, Rangers, good for them. I mean, if they get Kershaw one more move, that'd be astonishing. Gabriel, what's going on, man? Appreciate you tuning in. What's going on? But we got 23 people in the chat. Appreciate you guys tuning in. We just beat my record for a stream. Appreciate you guys tuning in. We just beat my record for the current active stream. That melts my heart. Appreciate you guys. It's awesome. Really, really, really awesome. That is great. All right, well, let's get back into things. How long do you think the CBA will go on for, bro? Yeah, I mean, it's tough, Sony. I feel you, man. Definitely. It could be anywhere from an hour to a month. I'm hoping it doesn't take long. I'm really hoping things start to really speed up. But we're gonna have to see, man. John says this sucks. We have 2 aces and we're headed for a lockout. I know, man. It really is. And, you know, watch. Like, this is what's going to happen knowing the Mets is they're going to create, like, an extended playoffs nonsense thing that nobody likes. They're going to play, like, 60 games, and the Mets are going to miss it. Imagine. Now, you got to think positive, though. Vince Velasquez says, I think the Phillies' rotation is set. We need one more starter since Eflin is to start. Wheeler, Suarez, Nola, Gibson is nice. Yeah, that's not bad. Hopefully, obviously, Kyle Gibson could definitely try to provide some stuff. Hopefully, he could be his 2021 self again. Nola's not bad. And, I mean, Zach Wheeler. I mean, look where Zach Wheeler's gone with the Phillies. I mean, punch Brody Van Wagenen in the face for, letting Zach Wheeler walk. The fact is, Brody Van Wagenen thought that Rick Porcello and Michael Wacha was much more. But, well, what else is there to do? Ivan Dos says Cohen's tweet woke up the monster. It did, man. It really did. Packers Goat says, let's troll and say Kershaw to the Rangers. What? Kershaw to the Rangers? No way. We doing better than the Stankies in moves. Yeah, Yankees have not been making many moves really at all so far. They've acquired our old friend Jose Peraza to a minor league contract. Otherwise, quiet offseason for the Yankees. Steinbrenner, he's going to need to make some moves, 100%. I know a lot of Yankee fans are very upset, and he's going to need to make some moves. That's the point. He is definitely going to need to make some moves. Just stand by for 2 minutes, guys. All right. Apologize about that. Mets have interest. Go on the Rangers. Appreciate you, Jake. Appreciate you, brother. LFGM. Kershaw. Oh, Kershaw has interest. Yeah, I did hear that. I did hear Kershaw has some interest going to the Rangers. VR we had. That's true. Yeah, honestly, Randy, I wouldn't be opposed to the Mets re-signing Jonathan VR as a bench role. I just question, is he going to want to accept that bench role? We know that for the most part, I think he's going to want to stay as an everyday player, and I just don't know how much the Mets can guarantee him the starting role at third base. Personally, I don't really want him to start at third base. But for the most part, if he's willing to come back on, a 2-year deal, for the most part, we'll see. We'll see. Go you, absolutely. Should the Mets still go after more pitching depth like Rodon or a trade package for Castillo? Yeah, I heard a lot of you guys have been asking about Rodon, and I don't blame you. It's an interesting guy. So getting into Castillo first in terms of a trade, Luis Castillo is definitely a little streaky. That's one little concern I do have there. Who else do we have? Pitching depth. Yeah, Mets definitely need 1 or 2 more guys. That would not hurt. Whether that's a starter and some bullpen arms, that's definitely needed because a lot of our end of the bullpen arms are currently suffering injuries. So what was the question exactly? Should the Mets still go after more pitching depth? Yeah, honestly, I don't really want the Mets to make too many trades. Like, I know a lot of people are going to get a little upset for me saying, no, you need to make trades. I want to get Sean Manaea and Matt Chapman. Listen, I love those guys. I would be down to get them. I just don't want to touch the Mets farm. I want to keep the Mets farm the way it is. Right now, the Mets were ranked 22nd out of, 30 in the MLB pipeline for their farm system, which is not very good. So, I'm really hoping that they can try and build it up. For the most part, we're going to have to see how that goes. And I think you build up by keeping. I want the Mets to start, and we've been seeing it. The Mets have 6 round picks in the first 2 rounds of the draft. They have 6 guys that they could get in the draft. So that's just really, really meaning something. We're going to have to see how that goes. Like I said, I understand the Mets are in a win now mentality. I get that. You just, Steve Cohen, he's always said, West Coast Dodgers, East Coast Dodgers, my apologies. East Coast Dodgers, East Coast Dodgers. Well, look at the Dodgers. They have one of the best farm systems out there. They were able to acquire Trey Turner and Max Scherzer at the deadline. Top 2 pitcher, top 3 shortstop in baseball. They could acquire them at the deadline and not have to give up pretty much jack diddly squat. The Nationals got some good guys in return, don't get me wrong. But I just think if you look at it, the Mets, they have Mauricio, Vientos, Beatty, Francisco Alvarez, and who else? Your Hayden Sengers, your Jalen Palmers, Carlos Cortezes. Those guys are great, but that's not going to cover a huge trade package. I'm honestly down to trade Ronnie Mauricio. I've always been I liked him. I know it seems like I bash on him, but there's nowhere to put him. All the hype is on Beatty. Realistically, Vientos is probably going to get called up quicker. Mauricio, where are you going to throw him? He's a shortstop. He's 20 years old. He hasn't even started taking reps at second or third or the outfield. So where are you going to put him? Do you really want this high-valued guy to, be thrown on the bench? Yeah, that's really what I question. Alvaro, what's going on, man? Appreciate you tuning in, buddy. He says, do you think the Mets will do better next season? This year was a bum. Yeah, this season was trash. I think the Mets will definitely do better. They can't get any worse. I know the Mets always Mets up, and I think that should be a word in the dictionary. Overall, I think it'll be a good season if the Mets stay healthy. And I know if I say that, something else will come up. But if health is a virtue, if it can be fine, I think the Mets have a high chance of succeeding. Bro, there's no debate. Marte is playing center field. Nimmo will move over. Yeah, that's the thing. And that is my biggest worry about Nimmo out in center field is Nimmo plays so far back on the warning track. He, and we've seen he's robbed, I think, 2 home runs this season, and he's made a lot of good catches. He just plays so far back. And that's maybe fine if you have a really athletic left fielder like Marte, and you have a good shortstop like Lindor. who have speed and a second baseman like Mcneil, who's known for being a flying squirrel, that's fine. But, when you're getting into the postseason, the playoffs, especially the World Series, we saw it killed the Mets in 2015. The defense is the reason the Mets lost the 2015 World Series, I think. At least a big chunk. Daniel Murphy booting that ball, Bill Buckner style. Lucas Duda, overthrowing the ball to Travis d'Arnaud at home. David Wright, which was the same play, but not letting Wilmer Flores grab that ball. First pitch of the World Series. I think it was Alcides Escobar, had that inside the park home run because Cespedes and Conforto didn't have great communication skills out in the outfield. It's that exact stuff that the Mets are going to need to be able to have. And when they say, Nimmo's fine, just let him play in the warning track, that's why I get worried. Because, if you're in the playoffs, you're going to get teams, or, let's say you get a guy, I don't know, like Starling, whatever. Let's say there's a guy in Major League Baseball who is a good BABIP hitter. Let's say you get a guy like Trey Turner. He's playing at Citi Field or playing in Los Angeles against the Mets. He hits a light chopper, goes to center field and shallow center field, and Nimmo's literally on the warning track. He's not going to be able to field that. So that is my biggest concern with Nimmo playing super back on the wall. Listen, I love to see them rob home runs, but that's going to be an issue. Elliot, what's going on? Elliot says, let's freaking go Blue Jays. Absolutely, man. Hope you're doing well. Baseball's Mayor says, I hear the Mets bring back Familia in a short-term deal. I have heard that, and I really hope they don't. Vince Velasquez says, well, we've been in talks with Schwarber, Castellanos, and Chris Bryant. Hopefully we land one of them. Yeah, honestly, out of all those guys, I don't want Schwarber or Castellanos. I'm probably one of the few Met fans that don't want Castellanos to an extent. Castellanos, he's not a good defender. He's terrible. Negative defensive runs saved. I don't remember it off the top of my head, but I know it's negative. And he's in one of the single percentiles for OAA. Not a good defender. If there's a DH, sure, I'll take his bat as a DH role. Schwarber, on the other hand, defensively also, there's nowhere to put him. He took some reps at first base with the White Sox. He wasn't good. He played some games in right field. That'd be such a downgrade to what you had in Conforto defensively. And especially if you're still questioning Nimmo's defense in center, which hopefully isn't the case, I don't want Schwarber out in the outfield. First base is locked down, and he was terrible there anyways. Where else are you going to put him? Chris Bryant would likely be my best bet because he is solid defensively. He's not, elite defensively, but he gets the job done for the most part. And he's such a versatile guy. He's a utility guy. You could throw him at third. You could throw him at third. You could throw him in left, right. During the All-Star game, he said he wanted to play center. Definitely a lot of options there. Chris says, I think getting a manager is up next. And that is what I find really interesting is that going into this offseason, I worried so much. I said, the New York Mets, how are they going to sign players without a manager? I'm not a Major League Baseball player, but if I am a Major League Baseball player or a minor league baseball player, I'm going to want to know who I'm going to be playing under. Let's say my name is John Smith and I want to play for the New York Mets. And, the GM and Billy Epler, Sandy Alderson, and Steve Cohen throws me a deal. Would I accept it? Especially as a pitcher? Who's the manager? The manager is going to be the one, especially for pitchers like Max Scherzer, who's going to run the game. He's going to run the game. How the manager is going to use him, situations. And that's why I really said the Mets need to get a manager in the first week or two of the offseason. Because will free agents even want to sign? Because, that was my issue. And surprisingly, it meant nothing. You landed 3 guys from the position playing. You landed a pitcher. Really, really something. So that's really good. But I think a manager is next up. Maybe, with the CBA lockdown, it definitely wouldn't hurt to, start looking out. Daniel says Bochy for manager. Yeah, he's been out of the game since 2019, which is not long at all, so no worried about that. He has a great history with championships. He's won 3 out in San Francisco. I'd be all for it. I hope we can get Correa, Rendon, Chafin, and Melanson. Honestly, Melanson would not be the worst thing. I worry if he's going to argue about the whole closing role thing. We know that's a thing that relievers like to have. Chafin Big Country isn't bad. He really only had one good season for the most part in 2020. 2021, he was all right. Kind of slumped a little bit, and I think it was the second half when he went to Oakland. Was not the same type of guy. Nice lefty, nice slider. I'd be opening to look with him, honestly, maybe on a short-term deal. Obviously, he's a bullpen arm, so he's going to be a short-term guy. But we got 23 people in the chat. Appreciate the 23 of you guys tuning in. LFGM. Bartolo for manager. Hey, I'm down. Mariners and Blue Jays. Yeah, that would honestly be a good thing. I mean, Blue Jays now they have Vlad playing first. And are you going to continue with Cavan Biggio? I was about to call him Craig Biggio. Are you willing to continue with Cavan Biggio? That's my thing. As a Blue Jays, I guess, analysis. Mariners need a third baseman. They lost Kyle Seager. They're going to need a third baseman. I'm interested to see how that goes. Elliot says, Hayden, how do you feel about the Blue Jays losing on Robbie Ray? Yeah, I mean, I'm not a Blue Jays fan, but I mean, luckily the Blue Jays were able to extend and re-sign Jose Barrios. That was something that's needed, and especially, I mean, they gave up so much for Barrios. In terms of Robbie Ray, kind of a streaky pitcher, so I'm not terribly worried about him. Do I think he'll have another Cy Young season? We'll see, but I think he definitely can get some stuff done. Not the worst move for the Blue Jays, obviously. You guys re-signed Barrios, so we'll see. Definitely pitching is something they're going to need. I like Ohtani better than Scherzer. I mean, in terms of the pitching, I think you got to look at it, Alvaro, is that he's a two-way player, and you don't see that. I mean, unless Scherzer is going to, go around and, hit me, 30 to 25 home runs a season and, get on base, 2 out of the 4 times in his at-bat, then sure. But sadly, Scherzer is not a very good offensive hitter for the most part. So, yeah, obviously I think it has to go to Ohtani. Appreciate you tuning in to Owly. Mets fan MB says, I see Chris Bryant signing no later or after lockout. I like to see the Mets signing a minor league player or a relief player. Yeah. I mean, obviously minor league depth is pretty good. It's something the Mets are definitely taking advantage of. Like we said, we got 6 picks in the first 2 rounds. I think that is going to be something very important. Yeah. Obviously, relief pitchers does not hurt to have relief pitchers. I'm down. Sports fan, what's going on, LFGM? Alvaro says, is Lindor worth all the billions he gets paid? Well, I was keeping up the positivity, but personally, I don't think Francisco Lindor is worth $341 million. And, I really hate to, set a bad tone here now. I know there's a lot of new people in the chat. If you look at Lindor's history, even with Cleveland, he's never really been a consistent offensive player. I don't know. That's my only little concern. We'll see. I mean, is he gonna, hit me, 35 homers, 130 RBIs, bat 290? No. I mean, I could realistically see him, giving us 275 average, even though average doesn't mean a lot. We're just using basic stats. We'll see. But I mean, listen, realistically, I hope he can. We're going to have to see. Should the Mets still go after pitching depth? Yeah, I think you did comment that already, so I will skip that. LFGM, absolutely. Mets fan MB says the Diamondbacks have just signed Mark Melancon. The Royals, minor move, but they signed Jacoby Jones. Yeah, that's the name, Jacoby Jones. Yeah, let's take a look-see at Twitter, see what's going on. We know a lot of moves. Mark Melancon, okay, what do you know? Thanks for breaking the news, Mets fan MB. Appreciate that. Yeah, that's honestly a fair deal. Pretty solid deal, honestly, for the D-backs. I mean, they don't really have much pitching staff, so I don't know how much it's going to help, but good for them. And Jacoby Jones, minor league, yeah, nothing crazy about that. Kershaw could be an option. Yeah, you're right. Kershaw could definitely be an option. Supposedly. in my opinion, he's more going to the Rangers. I think he's going to want to stay somewhere out west. Obviously, personal reasons, he's going to want to stay out in west. I mean, I would love him to come to the Mets. I just think if you look at it from the financial side, it's going to be interesting. But I mean, no way the Dodgers are going to lose Scherzer and Kershaw. I think the Dodgers' likelihood of re-signing Kershaw now that they lost Scherzer is going to grow, because I thought it was going to be the other way around. I thought they were going to keep Scherzer and say goodbye to Kershaw. Or at least, I mean, Kershaw, it depends. He's getting up there in age. Still great. But we'll see. Looking for Wheeler Punch would be insane. Yeah. I mean, if Noah could be his, 2017, 2018 Cy Young self and Wheeler could put on another show, absolutely. How do you feel about the Mets losing Baez, says Trey? That's a good question. I'm not, super upset about the Mets losing Baez. It's definitely a sting, no doubt about it. But I think if you have to look at it where Baez honestly definitely performed a lot for the Mets. He gave something that the Mets didn't have, speed and athleticism. That's one big thing. He came to the Mets. He was a completely different self. He took more walks, struck out less, had more plate discipline, became less of a free swinger, and really started to change around. He started to hit for the other way, some light contact. He hit for some power, had 9 home runs. We know me. I love to see home runs. He really did, realistically, really start to improve. So it kind of sucks that, he improved. And that I think the most annoying thing is that we traded away our 5th best prospect, outfielder Pete Armstrong, for what, a 47, 48 game rental? Trevor Williams is probably going to walk or be a minor, not a crazy big, thing for the Mets. So that's what kind of stings. And especially because the Mets, minor league outfield depth is such limited. You have Khalil Lee, who's practically called up, Carlos Cortez, and who else? Maybe Batty could take some reps. I don't know. Stroman to the Angels. What's going on, Jose? Yeah, that'd be an interesting move. I could definitely see that. Yeah, not bad. The Mets are winning the 2021 World Series if healthy. We'll see, sports fan. We will see. Yeah, I'll message you about that. Should the Mets resign Stroman? I think it's supposed to say Stroman and Bryant. Stroman, listen, this is my issue with Stroman. As a player, I think he's a fair player. As a person, not the best person in terms of chemistry. But getting into him as a player, Stroman honestly really did have one of his best seasons. He's always kind of claimed and bragged about how he's a Cy Young pitcher, really, really how much of a good pitcher he is. And we never really saw that, unfortunately. But luckily, we really were able to see it this year. The splitter-slider combination was really able to work. A lot of strikeouts, swinging and misses, the whiffs really started to work for Stroman. Started to be more of a ground ball pitcher, which is a big thing for our defense being, hot and good. So, it depends on the contract, what you're going to give him. I have no problem giving him 5-6 years. We know pitchers in their 30s, giving them a long contract can be shaky, but we'll see. Kobe says, what number will Max Scherzer wear? Because 30. Oh, yeah, that's right. Stengel and Piazza. Yeah, that's true. I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know. Maybe he'll choose 40 because I think that's how much money he's making. LFGM. They did double. What's going on? Any news on the Blue Jays? Nothing really crazy about the Blue Jays, I think. I know we do have a couple Blue Jays guys in the chat. I think the last thing we did hear about the Toronto Blue Jays was that the Jose Barrios extension. Otherwise, pretty quiet. Hopefully they can make some moves, though. Travis, what's going on, man? Appreciate you tuning in. Steven, what's going on, Steven? He says, hello, Hayden, what's up, bro? Doing well. I think we should sign Bryant and Rondon. Yeah, hopefully, man. We will see. I did go over both of those guys prior, so hopefully you did hear my little rant/explanation. I want Baez to stay forever. Yeah, me too, Travis. Me too, but sadly, that did not work. And focus on trade for the bullpen. Yeah, some bullpen arms would be nice. Definitely, that is something that our bullpen was really good in the first half. And then a lot of our starters, once DeGrom got hurt, that was really the big thing. Because if you look at it, DeGrom was really helpful for the bullpen. DeGrom went 8-9 innings, and he would really lay off the bullpen. He would he'd go 8-9 innings and give the bullpen a rest. He lost to Grom, so that's 8 to 9 more extra innings for the bullpen. Familia was a victim of it. He was great in the first half. Bullpen became fatigued and overtaxed. So, yeah, definitely I agree with you. You definitely need some bullpen. I don't think it should be like the number one concern. Obviously, starting and offense is my number one. But definitely at least 3 to 4 solid bullpen arms would be nice. Appreciate you, man. LFGM, absolutely. Hopefully, Jake, you heard my explanation. Trey says, are we able to talk free agents during lockouts? I think they could talk, but I don't think they're allowed to sign. I think free agency is kind of halted for the most part. Mets fan MB says, so right now the Mets have rotation of DeGrom, Scherzer, Walker, Carrasco, McGill, and Peterson. Do we sign to kick Peterson and McGill out of the rotation? So DeGrom, Scherzer, Walker, Carrasco, McGill. So obviously DeGrom, only really concern is health. Scherzer, really no concerns. Taijuan Walker, health is definitely the big thing. He kind of got fatigued towards the end. He only pitched, what? I think he pitched like 20 innings in 3 years. So that's definitely a little bit worrisome. So you hope that he could try and, try to combat his fatigueness and really just try to be able to go out there, continue to pound the zone, keep that velocity up, dipped a little bit towards the end. But be hopefully at least a solid middle and starter of the rotation. Definitely health is going to be the thing for him, trying to get back to pitching, 70, 80 innings again, at least. Carrasco's definitely, a little bit worrisome. Carrasco was weird. He got like the first inning blues, I guess. He'd start. The long ball was a big thing. He got barreled constantly. The long ball was a big thing for him. So getting long balled and the first inning. Second through whatever inning he got taken out if he was Tom Seaver. The first inning is really something. So it's weird. I've never seen it. Maybe there were talks about putting Carrasco in a bullpen role or having an opener like Luke start the first inning and then you put Carrasco in. I don't really think that's going to do much. I just think it's, him just trying to get adjusted out there. So hopefully he could try, mature that. McGill, obviously no really big concerns. Obviously the innings pitched is something I want to keep an eye on. Hasn't really pitched much pitched much in the minor league inning. And David Peterson. David Peterson, once again, a little bit just worried. Not health-wise. I think he could be a good guy, like stubbed his toe or something in the dugout. Just the innings pitched. I feel it was kind of rushed up in the minor league system to be called up. So if he starts down in AAA, I wouldn't be super upset, but he could easily be called up quickly. I'm happy to see that Cohen isn't all talk and is willing to pony up and open that wallet. Also happy to hear them say they aren't done with the possibility to make the team better. Absolutely, man. We have 6 draft picks. Yes, in the first 2 rounds. So that is good to hear. 100%. It's going to be a great draft for us. Yeah, and I heard there are a lot of good outfield prospects, so that is what I like. Who's the worst farm in baseball? I think it was the White Sox. I think they were at 30. Mets need to sign 2 to 3 more big guys, a pitcher or 2, an upgrade at third base. We need to go after Chris Bryant. The Mets sign 2 guys, and it's going to be cheap. Well, it depends what 2 guys, obviously. 2 to 3 big guys. So, right now, the only if you're talking big guys like Correa, Bryant, sure. I definitely think Bryant's a possibility now. Call me nuts, but Correa could potentially be a possibility now that he's out with Detroit. This is my question: are the Tigers going to be willing to throw $300 million at Correa right now? Because I thought Correa would sign with the Tigers and maybe Baez would go to the Astros because the Astros are going to want a shortstop. Baez is much cheaper. Maybe if you put Baez at second and Correa at short, and then you have Jamie or Candelario at third, and then you move Jonathan Schoop. Yeah, that'll be interesting. Chris Bryant. Yeah, Chris Bryant is, I've been talking about Chris Bryant constantly. I like him for the defensive value. Obviously, he's very versatile. You could throw him in third, left, center, right. Offensively, definitely fair guy. Let's take a look-see at Chris Bryant. We'll take a look-see at his savant. We do have a lot of comments. I really appreciate you guys for the support today. Definitely means a lot. Drop an LFGM in the comment section below. Yeah, so I mean, right now we could see Chris Bryant. He mashes off-speed pitches, and he's really good against lefties with fastballs. That is one thing the Mets struggled a lot with this past season. Fastballs, lefties, and low velocity. He rakes in those three categories. That is what I like in Chris Bryant. That is what I like. Yeah, 29 years old. That's prime age. LFGM, absolutely. Randy says Mauricio will play outfield. It has to happen, bro. Yeah, I mean, may as well start now. But that's the thing is, can he play it? I mean, listen, he's 20 years old. He definitely has time to possibly start. But I mean, learning a whole new position, I mean, it really is complex. I mean, look, Cleveland, they tried it with Rosario, and it was kind of a disaster. So, I mean, I agree with you, Steven. I don't think he's going to be able to play outfield. What's going on, Ranting New York Rangers? He says, who you think will be the first in the rotation? DeGrom. Jacob DeGrom is the number one in that Mets rotation. Lawrence, what's going on, Lawrence? Lawrence says, what about Suzuki? He could do what Chris Bryant's do, and even more pitch. And Cora, what's going to happen to Stroman and Cespedes? So right now, Cespedes is out of the Mets picture. He's off his contract. He's doing whatever. He's riding his boars in Texas or whatever. Stroman, I did briefly go over Stroman. Stroman is a guy who, like I said, I talked about him as a player. I talked about him as a person. In terms of the chemistry, I get a little worried with Stroman. I get a little concerned. But as a player, I think he could definitely be a solid guy. Like we said, the splitter slider was effect. The strikeout rate, swinging and miss rate was really good for Stroman. And his innings pitched, I mean, went up dramatically. We know he changed his windup a little bit to kind of throw off the hitter's timing, which was good. I wouldn't be opposed to bringing back Stroman. Just, Steve Cohen's going to have to tell him to chill a little bit. And then Chris Bryant. Yeah, Chris Bryant's definitely there. Suzuki, he is from the Nippon League in Japan. Things do work a little bit different over there than the MLB, so I get a little questionable of that. But, I mean, the stats that this dude's put up, the on-base percentage, I mean, it's just mind-boggling. And he literally could play any single position besides, like, catcher and pitcher. I think he's played third base. He's played shortstop. I think he's played second, first, left, center, right. It's not going to be at the major league, case. I could definitely see him going to the major leagues. It's going to be something. So we'll see. LFGM, absolutely. Tigers in serious talks with Castellanos. Who signed Kyle Seager? Kyle Seager has not signed yet. One team I wouldn't mind him signing with is the Rangers. And my reasoning is you could easily throw him at third base for a year or two. You wait till Josh Jung gets called up. He's a top of the order lefty at bat, and he could play with his brother. Yeah, hopefully you did hear that, Lawrence. That is crazy. Ranting. Oh, yeah, of course. Jacob DeGrom. Eric, what's going on? Eric says, think there's a chance we could do anything else before today with the lockout. Maybe some minor deals. Obviously, I don't think there is really anything else that the Mets are going to do in terms of big stuff. I think it probably would have already happened by now. Hey, do you see the Mets signing Jorge Soler? Not bad. Not bad, but I don't really have an interest in Jorge Soler. Disagree. On Lindor. Yeah, I'll get to that. Kyle Schwarber and the Brewers are in agreement. Dodgers just re-signed Chris Taylor. LFGM. Why doesn't Lawrence says, why don't the Yankees want Tanaka anymore if Tanaka wants to come to the Mets? Yeah, I think he was out pitching in Japan. Personally, I don't really have much of an interest in Tanaka. Disagree with you, hated on my boy Lindor. He is an offensive defensive player. He brings energy and wants to win. Yeah, dude, absolutely. Listen, I hope I'm wrong, and I think I am wrong. I really think Lindor should hopefully really have a bounce back season. I really do. Defensively, he's a monster. I mean, defensively, let's look at some of his stats. I mean, he really had a good season. Offensively, he unfortunately did not. Defensively, he's always been, a defensive guy. Definitely a top 5 defensive shortstop. Yeah, defensively, 100th percentile in OAA. So that's pretty good. So defensively, he's there. I just worry about the offense just because of the track record. But hopefully he can really start to turn things around. Definitely, I think he brings great chemistry to this team, and he wants to win. And I think, that's really important. Mets fan MB says, I think this year Jeremy Hefner is going to really focus on Carrasco because Walker is really solid. Well, yeah, obviously, I really do seriously think Carrasco is the number one guy to focus on. He's coming back. Besides cancer, I mean, he didn't pitch really much in 2020, and he missed some of 2019. And he's getting up there in age, so he's gonna have to try to reevaluate him on the slider pitch that was giving up a lot of barrels, long balls. So he's gonna have to work with them. I think Hefner's gonna have to work with a lot of guys. Hefner's gonna have to work with DeGrom, not so much on his eliteness, but DeGrom's gonna have to tone down the eliteness because he's hurting himself. So Hefner's gonna have to work with DeGrom, maybe tone down some of the velocity, some of the mechanics, some of the metrics. I think it's like something with his wind up and bring, to work with him on that. Even some, Hefner's going to have to work with everyone, but I think the number one guy I would like to see fixed is Carrasco. Yeah, hopefully you should see that. And I just want to say, as a positive diehard Mets fan, can't have the negative PTSD. Mets fans stop being so negative toward team. Steve Cohen. Yeah, no, listen, man, and I get it. A lot of Mets fans have different attitudes. And listen, I like to be positive. I really do, like I said, we're just gonna have to we're gonna have to wait and see how the Mets go this season. And I hope that right now it's new ownership. So I don't want to say, but this year. Well, it's a new time for the Mets. They have new guys, they have new moves. We will see. Absolutely. Huge move, Steven. I agree with you. Mad Max Scherzer. LFGM, absolutely. What's going on, Butters? I hope and pray the Mets will stay healthy. Yep. That's the thing is, and I hate to say like injuries as an excuse, but it literally was the Mets' excuse. They had an outfield of Tovar, Lee, Williams, Maben. And people say, injuries is an excuse. Not for the Mets. New York Mets culture. Of course, man. 100%. LFGM, of course. Okay, so the deal's officially done. Okay. If you want to make a deep playoff run, we need another bat. Another starter, and a few bullpen arms. Absolutely, yeah. Right now, currently, just because I don't want to keep repeating myself, but you guys are asking awesome questions. Appreciate you guys. Definitely, another bat is needed. Because the DH role is definitely possibly going to be implemented. So that question is, the Mets have so many DH candidates, which I love. Like I said, I'd rather the Mets have more guys, have too many guys than no guys or limited guys. So depending on if you buy out Cano's contract, what do you do with JD Davis? Could he be? People say JD Davis as the DH. Get a little worried with JD. He has his issues with hitting with the high off-speed fastball. That's something he needs to work on. But he can go the opposite way for some power. I like that. Davis could be an opportunity. The bat definitely need another at bat. And another starter, I agree to an extent, and some bullpen arms. Yeah, bullpen arms are definitely important, especially when you get in the playoffs. And we saw this season, you need as much bullpen arms as possible. I want to see the Mets have a whole nother rotation sitting in AAA to be called up. And that's really what was an issue last year, is that our bullpen got so fatigued in the second half because they were getting worked up more. Steven says, yes, I agree, but I think the other New York Met fans put too much pressure on Lindor, and he can handle New York. I don't think that our Mets fan base will give him a chance, brings confidence. Yeah, listen, I lived in New York for 18 years. I've been in Florida for the past year and a half. So I get it. We're New Yorkers. We're passionate. Met fans, we're very knowledgeable baseball fans. We care about our team. And I agree with you. Hopefully, it was 1 year and he won't do that again. I'll go in with Lindor, with the open mindset in 2022. That's all we could do, man. We'll have to wait and see what Lindor's, able to bring to the table offensively. Mets fan MB says, what do you see the Mets doing today if they sign someone? To be honest, I don't really see them signing anyone. I think it's kind of, was it 5:09 Eastern? Yeah, I don't think they're going to sign anyone tonight, to be real. Lawrence says the Angels took Noah and Loop, so Billy should Ohtani and Trout from the Angels. What's fair is that Billy came from the Angels. The Angels always pitching. Yeah, that's fair, man. Yeah, and at first everyone was having a whole conspiracy saying, "Oh, Epler's working with the Angels," but I mean, the Angels, they got Syndergaard, they got Loop. I mean, Syndergaard, he's kind of a reliability concern. He's only going to pitch 100 innings. I mean, he's coming back from Tommy John. His innings are going to be pitched. He can throw his slider. That's going to be an issue. Loop, relievers are streaky. I mean, he had one good season with the Mets, and otherwise, kind of meh. Like I said, he went to the Rays. Rays always fix up their guys, so we'll see. But yeah, definitely good to see Billy Epler actually making some moves and not sending our guys away. What did the Mets do at second base? Mets fan MB, I am a proponent of Jeff McNeil. Everyone calls me nuts, and everyone hates me on it. As of right now, I really do think Jeff McNeil can have a resurgence. Like I said, he only had one good season. Oh, no, McNeil had one good season, one bad season. I mean, that's literally the worst thing to have is, I mean, 2018, I'm not counting 40 games. 2020, I'm not counting that. 2020 was crap. Otherwise, I think McNeil could definitely be your number one primary second baseman. Like we said, is he a guy who performs better in a utility role? Maybe, because he did it in 2019. We saw in 2021, he started off at second base. He started off in a struggle. I really think the Lindor incident kind of screwed him up with the raccoon punching nonsense. I think that really messed him up because once that happened, he just went all downhill for the rest of the season. He has to control his temperament. I agree. But in terms of second base, I would like McNeil. He sees the ball come off the bat much better on the right side. He's always claimed to be a natural second baseman. And the Mets have so many guys out of position. I mean, you're having J.D. Davis in left field. You're having Dominic Smith in left field. They're not outfielders. Stop throwing them out there. But overall, I think McNeil is my best bet at second base. As a backup, you always have Blankenhorn off the bench. Eduardo Escobar could always take some reps out there. We'll see what they do with Robbie Cano. I did actually make a video on what the Mets should do with Robinson Cano 2-3 weeks ago. So if you guys want to check that out, that'd be appreciated. We are going to get into the couple final comments you guys have left, and then we'll probably call it a stream. Daniel says the Dodgers were the second in injuries behind the Mets, but they played in depth. And that is exactly my thing, is the Dodgers, they had their injuries, and that's true. Kershaw, Dustin May, their pitching staff, I agree. But and look what they did. They called up guys from AAA, and they were able to perform. So that is why I want the Mets to be able to have a whole rotation literally in AAA. So they could call guys up. I mean, the Mets right now, if everyone's healthy, DeGrom, Scherzer, Carrasco, McGill, Peterson, Lucchesi, Yamamoto, Sapuki. We'll see. Twitter says Mets are heavily interested in Rodon and serious talks. Yeah, I did see that. Absolutely, man. You know, listen, Mets, I mean, I've only been around for 19 years. You've probably seen much more than me with the Mets. A lot of my Mets memories have been pretty unfortunate. So hopefully I could try and see something. I do think there's a problem with Jeff McNeil and attitude with Lindor. Yeah, I mean, listen, I wasn't in the dugout, so, like, I'm not going to go around saying, oh, it's Lindor's fault. Oh, it's McNeil's fault. I do know McNeil definitely does have, some temperament issues. We'll see him as throwing his helmet and cursing out if he strikes out, and he needs to work on that. We know that there was some animosity with them on how to position themselves. That a guy like Lindor isn't necessarily for certain shifting, and he wasn't really listening. McNeil wasn't really listening to Lindor's recommendations for the shift. And I think a big part of all the issues is, and I think this brings on to your other point, Stephen, is that there was no real leader in the clubhouse. Luis Rojas, he didn't know anything that was going on in the clubhouse. If you had an actual manager out there who was actually paying attention, I feel this issue would have been resolved the night it happened, or not even. I don't even think it would have happened. I think it would have been resolved day one. They would have said, okay, you guys, you're going to defense like this, you're going to position like this, and they would have a workbook with the third base coach, how everything. I really think that if there was an actual real clubhouse presence, this would have never happened. So that's why when we get a real manager under our belt, I'm not worried about McNeil and Lindor. If you want, let them lock them in a room for 2 hours or 24 hours, and they have to make up over it. That'll be the worst thing. LFGM, absolutely. So we're probably going to call it a stream here, everyone. I really do appreciate you guys tuning in. You guys dropped awesome questions. Awesome questions. I mean, this was probably my favorite stream compared to all of them. We had a lot of great people in the comment section. We had a lot of good questions. Everything. I really did enjoy you guys coming in. If you guys are not already, smash that like button, turn on those post notifications, subscribe, tell your friends about this channel. We just hit 500 subscribers, I think, 2 days ago. I really appreciate you guys. Really has meant a lot. We've had this channel for almost a year, so 500 subs, hey, it's better than nothing. So, yeah, I really do appreciate you guys. It definitely does mean a lot. Padres sign Luis Garcia. Not bad. So, yeah, like I said, subscribe. I did upload a couple videos this week if you guys would mind checking them out. What were those videos on again? So I did upload some videos this week. One, Javier Baez signing with the Detroit Tigers. 2, me reacting to Max Scherzer signing. 3, me reacting to the Starling Marte signing. And 4, Mets signing Escobar and Canna. So if you guys could, please feel free, check that out. And let me know your thoughts. It would really mean a lot. Otherwise, until next time, baseball fans, see ya.